The revelation of the revelation. The four Gospels explained by their writers by Jean-Baptiste Roustaing, 1881. Source: www.tinyurl.com/the four Gospels. Observance of the Sabbath. Luke, chapter 13, verses 14 to 17.
And the ruler of the synagogue, being angry that Jesus had healed on the Sabbath-day, answered and said to the crowd, There are 6 days in which men ought to work, therefore come to be healed on these, and not on the Sabbath-day. Then the Lord answered him, and said, Thou hypocrite, does not each of you loose his ox or his ass from the manger on the Sabbath, and lead him out to water? And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom behold Satan hath bound for these 18 years, to be released from this bondage on the Sabbath-day? And when he had said this, all his opponents were ashamed, and all the crowd rejoiced at all the glorious acts which he performed.
Section 82. Moses instituted the Sabbath as a safeguard against the abuse of power and authority. It was necessary to speak strongly to compel the obedience of these hard-hearted people who were always ready to rebel. Moses gave them a law to protect them against themselves, otherwise their slaves and even their cattle would have been overwhelmed by the burdens laid upon them. The Sabbath was a compulsory rest, imposed even on avarice and cupidity, which were forced to slumber to allow their victims time to regain their strength. Material laws are for material men, but intelligent laws are for intelligent men. Jesus said, The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath, Mark 2, verse 27. That is, the Sabbath was designed for the repose of man. It sets a barrier against the excessive toil that he might sometimes impose on himself, but more frequently on others, but it was not intended that any reasonable observance of it should be forced upon men. Rest your bodies from fatiguing labors, but never let your hearts rest from doing good. Do not be surprised that when Jesus, as he said himself, had released the woman from her infirmity, he should have expressed himself somewhat differently to the ruler of the synagogue. Jesus always conformed his language to the ideas of those to whom he spoke, that they might understand or at least listen to him, but the knowledge of the real import of his words was reserved for the future. If he had told the people that he had only cured a disease, he would not have been believed. He therefore used the customary expressions in order not to conflict with the opinions and prejudices of the listeners, and that they might believe in the cure which he had effected, and said, Ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham whom Satan, understand here disease or infirmity, has bound for these 18 years, to be released from this bondage on the Sabbath-day? But at the same time he said to the woman, Thou art released from thy disease or infirmity. The revelation of the revelation. The four Gospels explained by their writers by Jean-Baptiste Roustaing, 1881. Source: www.tinyurl.com/the four Gospels.